Hello, everyone, and welcome to Throwing in the Towel 2025 NFL Season Edition, the weekly series where I take a hard look at the NFL losers and decide which team's season is officially cooked. I'll go division by division, crown an NFC rep, an NFC rep, and finally pick one team to throw in the towel on each week. Now, I don't think this will go the entire NFL season, but I'll go for as long as I can. And we start in week 1 in the AFC with the AFC East. And for the Miami Dolphins, no team provided a worse week 1 performance than them. It looked like an identity crisis, an offense that couldn't get going, a rushing attack still asleep, and Tua throwing more shade than touchdowns. A turnaround in Miami must come quickly, or midseason changes may be in order. For the New England Patriots, let's pump the brakes on the Patriots being significantly better this season from a coaching and roster perspective. Yes, the team's roster has been upgraded, but even when New England looked like it had an obvious advantage with the Raiders coming to town, the Patriots secondary wasn't up to the task. And the Jets found a way to lose, yet a silver lining exists even in defeat because the team showed significant promise on offense, which hasn't been the case in quite some time. The Jets didn't lose because of their quarterback. Instead, the defense and special teams let the squad down. Over in the AFC North, sure, Cleveland just outplayed the Bengals in just about every facet of the game, yet in the most Cleveland way imaginable, 2 tipped ball interceptions and a pair of missed kicks. Might be time for a new kicker there, including an extra point. The Browns managed to somehow lose the game. So yeah, the foundation for this team was shaky, and week 1 just confirmed it. And for the Ravens, there's not much to say. They are ridiculously talented on offense, but when your defense allows 497 yards of offense, well, you're going to get beat regardless, and that could be an issue with these Ravens, much as it was for them last season when their secondary ranked 31st against the pass. In the South, well, let's just all be patient with Cam Wharton and the Tennessee Titans. In his NFL debut, he went up against a stingy defense, so it's no surprise that he only completed 43% of his passes and took 6 sacks. That said, Tennessee lacks high-end playmakers around Ward, and its ground game needs a power runner to complement Tony Pollard. The Titans' defense at least look like an actual unit, which is something, though they're still one of the league's worst teams. And the Texans' offense expectedly looked out of sorts, and they could be in trouble if the coaching staff has to keep moving bodies around across the offensive line. On top of that, their top running back Joe Mixon is on injured reserve and an ankle injury, and they have a first-time offensive play caller. Houston needs some time to figure out its offense, but will it figure it out in time? And in the AFC West, lone representative here for the Chiefs, and I will say it is too early to be calling this the end of the Chiefs dynasty, but that week 1 performance certainly was concerning. It wasn't just that the offense looked very much like the same limited, methodical unit we saw for most of last season, though it did. It wasn't simply the fact that we saw a defense far less disciplined than we're used to seeing from a Steve Spagnuolo-coached unit, though we did. Can we expect Mahomes and company to drag this team back into shape post-week 1? So these are the division representatives this week. In the East, we have the Dolphins. And you want to talk about mid-season changes, the Dolphins could be having an interim head coach, and they could even trade Tyreek Hill. Those are certainly some of the moves that are on the board for this team. For the Browns, well, as I mentioned, a new kicker could be in order. Joe Flacco, I think he is still very much secure in the starting job, and really there's not much more Cleveland can do. Maybe they can get the rookie runner, Jenkins. I don't remember his first name on the top of my head. Should know that one, that's on me. But maybe if they can get him up to speed, maybe he can provide a boost in the running game. For the Titans, not much more you can do other than just put Cam Ward out there and hope he continues to progress. And for the Chiefs, tough loss week 1. But I think it's too early to be writing a team with Andy Reid as the head coach and Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. It's too early to be writing them off. So of these 4 teams, who's going to represent the AFC this week? Well, it's going to be the Tennessee Titans. So just file this one away for the end of the video. The AFC rep this week is the Tennessee Titans. Moving on to the NFC side of things, starting in the East. The Giants gave us little to discuss following their loss to the Commanders. Russell Wilson completed just 46% of his passes, and he led the ground attack with 44 rushing yards. Malik Neighbors still posted solid numbers, but it's fair to wonder what his stat line would look like with rookie Jackson Dart under center. And for the Cowboys, without Micah Parsons, the defense had a decent outing, If not for CeeDee Lamb's case of dropsies, Dallas may have pulled off the upset. The Cowboys are a less interesting team without Parsons, but a healthy deep Dak Prescott should keep them competitive and in the NFC playoff race. Over in the North, for the Bears, Ben Johnson's primary job as head coach this year is to harness Caleb Williams' natural playmaking ability after last year's disaster rookie campaign. The quarterback has all the necessary tools and looked the part in multiple instances on Monday. However, more consistency is needed from the uber-talented signal caller. And for the Lions, the defending division champs stumbled out of the gate, and a bit of transition should have been expected for the start of the Lions campaign. They have 2 new coordinators on offense and defense. However, the Lions still field a top-notch roster. A few weeks may be necessary for really getting into a groove for Detroit's new play callers and the team as a whole. Over in the South, for the Panthers, right now, they might have the worst roster in the NFL and the 4th-best quarterback in their own division. If the Panthers can't change the narrative around this team soon, both head coach Dave Canales and quarterback Bryce Young could both be looking for work in 2026. And there are reasons to believe the Saints can grow from here. New Orleans has enough veteran difference makers to keep games close. That game against Arizona, not a great game, but it was close. If they can get more consistent play out of Spencer Rattler, or maybe even Tyler Shuck, the Saints will have chances to string together some wins in 2025. Probably not a winning season, but certainly get some wins. And for the Falcons, there are some positives to take away from their loss. Michael Penix Jr. played like the dynamic quarterback that they were expecting Kirk Cousins to be, but ultimately he wasn't. While Atlanta's new look defense held firm for most of the game, keyword most of the game. However, the Falcons failed to run the ball with any consistency. Bijan Robinson took more damage through the air than on the ground, and their defense disappeared on Tampa's final go-ahead drive. If Atlanta wants to be taken seriously and close out games, it has to learn, obviously, how to close. And in the West, lone representative here, the Seattle defense does deserve some credit for helping keep the Seahawks in this game. But if Jake Moody could kick, which he can't, and subsequently he's been released by the 49ers, this game wouldn't have been close. And Seattle's sluggishness on offense is legitimately concerning, given that they were the only NFC West team to lose in Week 1, putting them behind the 8 ball. So here we have it for our 4 NFC division representatives this week. So for the Giants, they did commit to Russell Wilson starting in Week 2, and I think that's a smart play right there. Obviously not a great performance from him, but I don't think Jackson Dart would have done any better, and I don't think you do him any favors if you put him out there prematurely. That being said, if you're not competitive and you're not winning games from Russell Wilson, expect Brian to be able to put Jackson out there in an attempt to try to salvage his job, because if things don't go right, he's probably out the door. For the Bears, rough start to the season. They had a nice start to the game, and then they kind of fizzled out from there. I thought the defense played well overall until the end when they kind of just got worn out. But I think if the offense can be more consistent from start to finish, the Bears are trending in the right direction. For the Panthers, that's just not what you're looking for. They had some momentum coming, or maybe not momentum, but they looked good at the end of last season, and that just did not carry over. And you wonder if the lack of playmakers on offense has something to do with that. And for the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, credit to the offensive line. They only gave up 1 sack. The problem is that 1 sack was the one where Nick Bosa stripped the ball from Sam Darnold. So rough start for the Seahawks, kind of stumbling out of the gate. But Sam Darnold didn't play terrible, which is kind of what you would want considering the money you pay for him to be your starter. So of these 4 teams, who's going to represent the NFC this week? It is going to be the Carolina Panthers. So remember, we have the Titans repping the AFC, and in the NFC, we have the Panthers. So it's going to be, this is yours, throwing in the towel Super Bowl matchup, Titans versus Panthers. Moving on from that, we have the recap section here. So as we go along throughout the NFL season, we start filling it in with teams as we throw in the towel on them, which then brings us to the moment of truth, the first official towel of the 2025 NFL season. And that will go to the Carolina Panthers, ranked dead last, playing dead last, and already looking like they might be picking first overall again. I don't remember, or what was it, 2023 when they picked first again, so not that long ago. This team After 1 week of football, I'm going to say it. The Carolina Panthers season is over. They are not a playoff team. Season's over. Towel's thrown in. I don't know what happens with Dave Canales and Bryce Young. I think we gotta let the rest, let some more of the season kind of play out to see how things kind of shape up. If maybe Bryce Young is the guy or not. If Dave Canales is the guy or not. But bad starts in the season for the Panthers, and I just don't think they're going to be able to rally enough to make this a competitive playoff team. So with that will do it for this first edition of the 2025 NFL season, throwing in the towel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next week for Week 2 edition.